We're going to do some formatting using the tabbing function in InDesign. Before we get started, it's helpful to have your hidden characters showing. So I'm just going to go up to the Type menu and go down to Show Hidden Characters. What that's going to show is those things that have been done in terms of the formatting structure that came in with this content. We can see a lot of these backwards P symbols. Those are called pilcrows. And anything that precedes those is a paragraph. So we can see that this content is a paragraph. Even this line by itself is a paragraph, followed by another paragraph. And then some have been used, whether this came in from a Word document or pasted from online. These were returns, a double return that left kind of a blank paragraph there to make that space. And that space should have been made using space after in the preceding paragraph, and that would eventually be done in proper formatting of this. So having those visible is definitely helpful to know where we have paragraphs and even some other characters such as forced line breaks and so on. So we've got those showing now. The other thing is to make sure that we've got a little bit of room at the top above for our tabbing window. If I open up the tab window with my content like this, right up above, the tabbing window would come in down below and would be a little inconvenient. So I just want to make some space for it. And the more you use this function, you'll know that you need to make that space. I'm going to do Command-Shift-T to open up my tabs. But what I want to do first is make sure that the tabbing window becomes aligned with my type. And the way I'll do that is by clicking on the text frame. That's it. I just click on the text frame and it knows that it's going to be applying the tabbing window to that. So I'll do Command-Shift-T, but you can also go to the Type menu and choose Tabs. So Command-Shift-T. And there we go, and we can see that it's aligned there. Now as you work, it's probably not going to stay in alignment forever. It will still work no matter where the window's aligned, but for learning's sake, it's definitely helpful to have it aligned. So the first thing we want to look at is how this works. It's not very intuitive. You can see this bar here right above the ruler. That's the slider for your tabs. These, we have the different tabs. If you hold over them, they give you the note of what that tab is, and they would be clicked on, and then you click on the slider where you want to apply that tab, and then you can move those around. The other thing you want to do is designate where you want that to happen. So in this case, right now I have no content that is selected. I don't even have a blinking cursor in any of the paragraphs. So if I choose, for example, the indent triangles here, you can see they're moving and they're going to indent that content, all of it. It's going to move all of it because I didn't designate any specifically. So I'll just do Command-Z to put that back. Now if I want to designate a certain section of the content, I can just click into a paragraph. I can highlight it, but it's not necessary. I can just click in, and then I can grab those triangles, and that will indent only that part because that's the paragraph that I was clicked into or had highlighted. So I'll undo that. So you can see it's a little bit of an example of how that slider works. Now another thing, if you're working with bullets, and normally we wouldn't bullet items in a menu, but I am going to apply a bullet to this first item here just so that you can see. So I'm clicked into that paragraph, and I'm going to open from my Type menu, I'm going to open up my paragraph panel. This is helpful to have, and we'll see some things coinciding in here in a moment. But I'll go down to the bulleting and numbers, or bullets and numbering. And from there, I can select the bullet, say OK. I'll actually turn on bullets here from the list type, bullets, and say OK. And that's going to apply a basic bullet to that. Now that's where we start to see where we need to do some formatting. We don't want that amount of space between the bullet and the content. So we can drag those triangles, and you start to see how things move around a bit. drag that triangle there. I just accidentally dropped in a tab. I grabbed that tab. So if you have a tab in there, you can just drag and drop it out. And I'll just try very carefully to get that triangle there. So that's the bottom triangle I'm selecting. And I'll get that to where I feel it's a good amount of space to the content. And then if I grab the top, you can see it pulls the bullet, and of course we've got that content staying where it is. So then I move the bullet closer and then move that lower triangle over. So that takes a little bit of getting used to, and you can also see it reflected in the indent on your paragraph panel, your left indent, and then the first line indent. So it's deeming the bullet as a negative value. It's kind of acting as the first line indent, that bullet. So that's what these triangles do there. And you don't always want to use them to just move things over. That's why we do tabbing. So we're going to see a little bit of that. Right now, I wanted to show you those bullets, but I'm going to turn those off. I don't need those on right now. So I'll go to the type menu, down to bulleted and numbered lists, and just remove bullets, and that's going to put that back. So as a menu, we have the price items, we've got the content. We want to have a little bit of hierarchy for the readability of this menu here. So I'm going to use some tabbing. I want to get the prices all the way over to the right side there, and I'm going to use tabs to do that. Sometimes you'll see people will do this. They'll just do spaces, or they'll do tabs, just the tab key, and then they do spaces to move it a bit. That you do not want to be doing, especially if this is something that is going to be going into an HTML environment. All of that is going to get very messy. So what we want to do is kind of code that spacing in using the tabs. So I'm going to delete all that. I'm just going to highlight it, and I'm not even going to put a space. I'm just going to delete. And then I'm going to go up to the tabs here, and I'm going to use, for this, I'm going to use a right justified tab. So it's going to justify along the right side of this. So all of those prices will land there. Now I can do this on the single, or I can do it on all of them. I'm just going to go through and remove the spaces that I have on these other items, because I'm going to do it all at once. That makes more sense. It's more efficient. And of course, we're often cleaning our content. This is what we deem cleaning the content, getting rid of unnecessary spaces. So sometimes we have to do that. It all depends on how the content was curated before it came to us. So now I can select all of this, and it's fine because there's only going to be certain parts of it that I'm doing this right indent with, and I'll choose that tab. So we can see if we hover over it again, it's probably not going to give us the note this time, but I'll click it, and I'll click on the slider, and it gives me that line. So it's going to show me where that's going to land. So I'll go right, I'm just going to go to here for now. And then when I go into there, ahead of the price, there's no space, and press tab, it's going to go there for each of them. And I can travel down and just tab each to that point. So that way I'm not using spaces and tabs, but I'm making sure that these are all landing in alignment with one another along that right side. They're all very cleanly landing. Now we also have this content here that is these paragraphs. We don't want that content going all the way under there, but we also would like that if it would like it to be kind of tabbed in here. So I'm going to select that, and again, I can select all of this. I can do a full selection, so I'll go from here all the way down through the content, because I don't want to have to do this manually for each item. I want to have it apply to all, and I want it to be consistent. So now I'll do the left indent. I'll click that, I'll bring that, and I'm going to get this, I'll just put it about there. Let's see, we can get an actual number there. We'll do 1/2 inch. You can see that number there. So then if I select this, it's going to move that in a 1/2 inch. But you can see also this secondary line is not landing there. So we want to fix that. We want to fix that indent that's happening. So we'll do all of these. And you can see, well, it probably would have been better just to select those and do the indent. But sometimes that's where you have to decide, what do you want to achieve with that? Do you want to just indent all of that? It's landing in 2 lines, or do you need things to be in a different scenario where you're going to have things landing a little differently than just a fixed structure throughout? It all depends. So if I were to select this, you can see that's going to move that second line in. That's indenting that second line. So I have that option. Again, I'm going to go through these, remove that indent, and then I'll do this. But that's going to take a little extra time because I have to do each section. So that's where you have to make those decisions. You go, okay, well, am I going to just enter this to 0.5? That's fine, I can do that, but then I have to enter each of these to 0.5, and that's okay. I'm select on that lower triangle, so I'll do 0.5 and 0.5. Not as fast as a tab and a tab. I can even just copy this. That's a little quicker, and get my cursor clicked into that, return, clicked in there, paste, return. So you can see sometimes you're not going to get the most efficient, fastest way, but you're getting consistency. That's what you want. You want that clean consistency with these items. So I'll paste these last 2 items in. Of course, a menu is going to be a little more complicated than a regular table of contents in a book. Okay, so now I want to bring that right side in. I want to indent that right side. So I'll go to this and I'll go to my right side indent on my paragraph panel, because this is a paragraph. So I can actually move that in. So let's see if we can get this to move in. I'm going to have to highlight it there. And that's not bad, but it's not going back as far. There we go. So I'll highlight this, copy, select in there, click in there, and paste, and enter, click in there. So again, I'm just clicking in the paragraphs, paste and enter. And this is the right side indent that I'm doing, right indent. And I'll do these. Now, copying and pasting those numbers is helpful because it's a little more efficient, and you're also getting that consistency across items. So we've probably got more in this menu now than we're seeing. That's okay, we just had a line at the bottom. That's fine. And now, there's one thing that sometimes we want when we're doing these prices. Now, this one, we're going to see why that landed there. We'll tab, and it went down a bit. So there was a little extra there that we didn't want, extra spacing on that one. So with this, I'm just going to pull this box open, give a little bit of room to that. So something changed here, probably something I did. That's okay. So I'm going to copy that tab, and I'm going to paste it here. So what's happening really is the length of the content versus the tab itself. So let's see what this is tabbing at. I'm going to select that, see if we can find that tab. So that tab has gone beyond that indent. Let's see. There we go. So again, a little bit of fixing to do sometimes. and even that is not where it should be. There we go. Now, if you want a leader on that, a leader is what we see often in table of contents. We may or may not want it in this case, but I'm going to select all of this because we only have the single tab. So now I can see what happened there. We have two tabs. If I select all, I want to clean this up. I've got some extra tab there going, so I'm going to drag and drop that one out. There we go. So I drag and drop the wrong one. And I took out the right one, so I'll undo that. So let me fix that. There's my left. Okay, there we go. A little bit of repair to do there. And missed a couple things here, so once again, a little bit of trial and error there. Let's see if we can get our amount back. Copy, and then I'll go into this paragraph and paste and get that back in order there. There we go. Doesn't take much to accidentally move something on this. It's small. You have to be very specific in what you select. But as long as you know what each of these symbols means and how you're moving them around, that's going to help you go back and fix any mistakes. I always find this, doesn't matter what I'm formatting using the tabs, it's trial and error. Often you're just trying to get things to move the way you want, but you really do pretty quickly understand what the best way is to set and where those efficiencies are. So as far as that leader goes, I'm going to highlight that tab. That's the tab here, and you can see it's highlighted in my bar there. And I'm going to put just a period there. And then I'll press enter. And you can see it puts that all the way through. It just makes it a symbol in that tab. So I can now do that manually to each, or I can go in and copy that tab into every one, and it didn't seem to carry the leader, so I'll just do that there, link into that, do that there, and I'm just clicking in. Now again, normally we wouldn't do this in a menu, not a tidy menu, but you can see that's how you're adding those leaders. Just putting that period in, and you can see I'm just clicking in there. Oops, there we go, and so on. I won't do all of them. Okay, so that's how you work with the tabs. Remember that you're using this slider, you're selecting them, but also when you can, use the indent, use that. We saw at the beginning where I tabbed, but then we had the second line. It's like, I could tab that line, but I want this to remain as a cohesive paragraph. So that way I'm going to make sure that everything is consistent and tidy, and it's not just doing spaces and random tabs. Everything is properly aligned along each side and at the indent as well.